like the other figure, probably not going to see that much of him once he's sat in the cockpit, but it's worth cleaning up anyway. And this being grey, you can just see that seam line, that mould line, going down the edge of him. It's certainly easy to see on grey plastic, so it sort of goes back to what I was saying about grey primer. Really helps to see if you've got any more cleanup to do. But on the grey plastic, it's definitely easy to see compared to the red plastic. Now I was thinking of actually putting a motor in this kit, but when I was having a look at the size of it, I thought better of it, because I know you can get some very small electric motors now, so you can have the prop spinning, but I think given this scale here, it was just going to be too much of a nightmare, and I didn't know whether I'd be able to fit it in the engine part. So just the design of the plane makes it a bit harder as well. But who knows, I might get another plane kit at some stage and go down that path, because the electronic side of things in modelling interests me. And it's something I haven't done before, so it'd be good to try out, I think. Looks like he has a massive mould line on the top of his head, which is annoying, because that's the part you're going to see. There we go. Looks like I've got rid of most of it. I think he's wearing a leather. He's wearing a leather leather flight cap. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but you don't want to get that sort of definitive edge appearing if you put sort of a wash over it. It's got a little bit of flash around the feet. Yeah, no one's going to see it, but while I'm here, might as well clean it up. And I guess people will see it, because you'll see it in this video. I mean, that's the other thing I can appreciate why people go into, a huge amount of detail in their kits, especially if they document the process. Photograph it, or video it, or whatever. At least then the detail that isn't seen as part of the kit, when it's on display, at least you've got a record of that level of detail that you went to. It's just about spending the time. Look away, I've got this knife in his crotch. There's a bit of flash right up in there. Poor fella. I know I wouldn't want a giant sized scalpel near my nether regions, but alright, he's cleaned up, ready to go. What other piece have we got? So I think this sprue can stay the way it is for now. So that one's good. Next we have the stand. The stand will probably go I'll cut out the pieces anyway, even if it goes in the spares box. or the bits box. Actually, I have a number of bits boxes. They are sorted by genre. So I have sci-fi, I have vehicles, which includes things like planes and armour. So it helps to differentiate between them. Of course, there's nothing stopping you using pieces that you might get out of an armour kit on sci-fi or vice versa. Alright, the stand. So even something like the stand, you know, I might not use this for this particular kit, but it might be suitable with a few modifications on another kit that I do down the, you know, in the future that doesn't come with a stand. You never know. The other thing, I don't know if you noticed before when I showed the stand that will hold both planes, I don't actually paint stands that these things go on. I've just had bad experiences in the past where the paint has maybe got warm and it's actually fused the stand. You know, the paint's on the stand's fused with the paint on the model, and I'm not sure. I mean, I know I've had that happen with just water-based acrylics. I'm not sure if that's the case with the lacquer acrylics I'm using now, but I don't want to risk it just the same. I mean, I don't show my models at shows or anything like that, so I don't think it's that important. Yeah, when your sanding sticks get filled up with you know, plastic dust and that sort of thing, it's a good idea to sort of give them a wipe on a rag. Just to clear that off, so you can see it makes a difference, especially with good quality sanding sticks like these. I think before I said the only FineMolds kits I built were the Porco Rosso planes, and that's not right. I've actually built the one of the robot kits from Laputa. So I built that. I did have some issues with that kit. It's the robot itself with the limbs and stuff. It's sort of like it's designed that the limbs can be posable, but I found I actually had to glue mine because the fit was quite loose. But saying that, still beautiful kit, beautiful detail, and came with a figure of one of the main characters. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, and it was the garden robot, not the military one, because there's two kits. I think there's two different robots, slightly different styles. Okay, that's the stand all done. What else we got here? Okay. Now I get these little tray things, these are for sort of mixing paint and what have you, but they're also really good for really small parts. Given the fact that these parts are grey, I have a grey mat, I also have a grey floor. I want to make sure that when I clean these up, I sort of make sure they don't get away from me. Okay, I have no idea how I'm going to clean this up without breaking it or bending it. It just is mad small. Right. Let's see what I can do with the knife. Sorry, this is not going to be in focus. Just tell you what we can do is get a brand new blade. These, to me, are blade boxes. I really like the idea of being able to dispose of the used blades all in one place, so it's less dangerous having them floating around in your bin. Alright, let's see how we go shaving these nubs off. Oh God, that's tiny. What else have we got? Maybe if I use a file. Need to keep it sort of supported so it doesn't bend. Just want to get the bulk of that nub off so I can give it a sand. It's just so fine. And I do not want to break this piece. You know, I know a lot of aircraft guys, they'll be, you know, they'll sort of scratch build something using a bit of wire or something that's a little bit more robust. But I'd like to just build this one out of the box if I can. Yeah, it's problematic. It's problematic. Mind you, it's so small, I'm working out whether it's actually worth worrying about. Yeah, it would have been so much better if it was secured to the sprue at the actual end. Yeah, that would have made life a lot easier. But what are you going to do? But when you look at things like this, whenever someone else has built this kit, you know exactly what to look at first to see how they've sort of managed to deal with it. And certainly, you know, I'd suspect that's probably a big part of judging in model competitions is, you know, a lot of the judges would have built those kits so they'll know where the trouble spots are and where there is, you know, potential for cleanup issues or yeah, I reckon that'll do. Yeah, so it's sort of about having that, you know, that real knowledge of where the problematic issues are with the kit, so that when you look at someone else's, they'll be the first things you look at. You know, they did that really well. They cleaned up that machine gun a lot better than I did, or yeah, I think that's as good as it gets. Alright, now for the control stick. This one I'm probably a bit less concerned about, just because it's hardly going to be seen. So I think this one, yeah, it's going to be less of an issue. Just do not want to bend it, that's all. Once you've sort of bent it, you've stressed the plastic to the point where it's created a weak spot. And once you've got that weak spot, that's where it's going to snap. Alright. I'm going to leave that. The other thing I'm going to do is just put a bit of... I'm going to put a little bit of ultra thin or extra thin cement on there just to clean up those scratch marks that I've got. So to me, extra thin is really good for smoothing out any sort of potential, scratches or marks you've got on the piece. Now for this particular one, you can see it's still got focus, come on. No, I think the piece is so small. Oh, there, you might be able to see it. There's a slight hint of a nub on the side of the control stick, but I think rather than risking the thing snapping on me, and given that it's going to be in between Porco Rosso's legs and never going to be seen, I think I will leave it at that. Alright, what else we got here? We have the trolley, I guess you'd call it. Let's see. Yeah, some pieces have got quite a bit of flash on them. So here, look at this piece. See that flash around those edges there. That's it's unusual in modern kits. I should actually check when this kit was produced. It probably isn't that modern. Let's have a look. So if there's anything on the box that suggests the year. Oh, there you go, 2000. So yeah, it's a 21-year-old kit. Okay, I thought it was yeah, I thought it was a bit more modern than that. Okay, so this little prop here, I'm just going to cut it off, and that's going straight to my spare pieces bin. But that's that. It's already done. So just snip off all the excess sprue before I go into sanding. Yeah, so the level of detail in this kit's still pretty good. There's on these trolley pieces, a very subtle wood grain on there, which is probably right to the scale. Whether that holds up with a wash after it's had a coat of paint on it is another thing. There is definitely the detail there. Let's see if I can show this. So in the right light, it says very subtle wood grain there for the wooden parts, so that's nice to see. I already mentioned that I will be using the SMS lacquer acrylics for the majority of this kit, but for a lot of the hand painting stuff I'll probably be using Vallejo water-based acrylics. Just tend to find that they're a lot more suited to brush painting, so a lot of the detail painting will be done with those. But wherever possible, we're using the lacquers. Alright, time to clean these all up. And when you're sanding round parts like wheels, of course you want to sort of go with the flow of the shape so that you don't end up with any flat spots. And the time of making this video, Christmas is just around the corner. So I hope you're all going to get some good modelling gear at Christmas. And my wonderful wife is going to get me a gift voucher for a local hobby store. So I'm very excited about that, but I expect that it will be spent very soon in the new year. As many modelers will say, you know, it's good to support your local modelling stores. There's not that many of them around anymore. Certainly I remember in Melbourne there used to be quite a few more modelling shops, but now there's sort of two main ones in the CBD that I can think of. There's maybe more that I'm not aware of. And when I say local, that's it's not like it's just around the corner from me. I'm based in central Victoria, which is probably an hour and a half to 2 hour drive to Melbourne, depending on traffic. But of course, like most businesses these days, they do delivery, so it's all about just shopping online. But I always make a point of, whenever I'm sort of in Melbourne, I go to these model shops, because I find they're a really good source of information. You know, talking to the people who work in there, they know what they're talking about. They can make recommendations for products, or make recommendations of even kits. You know, if you say, oh yeah, I'm looking for something to build that's, you know, quick, but in this particular genre or whatever, they'll be able to help you. So that's the one advantage you get from shopping in person over shopping online. And personally, I tend to find that if I'm looking for advice on something, if you go to a forum or whatever, you can actually leave more confused than when you went in, because, you know, everyone has different opinions and that sort of thing. But I kind of think if I ask someone at a model store and they appear to know what they're talking about, I'll listen to their advice. Not to say that it's always perfect. It's a good place to start. Get rid of some mold lines, so down the edges of these. And off camera, I'll go around all the parts that I've cut off today and just make sure I've sort of haven't missed any mold lines that I need to clean up. And again, no one else is really going to notice, but it's good to take some pride in what you do, even if it is only a hobby. Alright, I think that is the last of the pieces I'm sort of going to clean up at this stage. I'm going to sort of try and tidy all this stuff up, and yeah, I think the next step for me is to put the engine together, do some glue all that together, and I will also need to sand where the parts have been glued. Do that for the floats as well, but I want to leave the glue to just set a little bit harder before I start sort of sanding it. So I've allowed nearly a full day for the glue to set, so that way I shouldn't have any issues when I come to sanding the join lines here. So I'm just going to clean up all these pieces with a bit of sanding and stick the engine together, and then it'll be a matter of putting everything on clips and start the painting process. Now, there's some areas here that I know will be covered by others, so I don't have to go into super smooth sanding for those particular areas. Looks pretty good. Of course, I won't know how well this works until I get some primer on it, and I'll be able to see if there's any stepping or seam lines. I don't think there will be though. I think it'll look pretty good. Alright. And now the floats. So I don't want to sand these down too flat, because there should be a quite a sharp edge on the bottom of the floats. So I've just got to be a bit careful here, not to flatten it out too much. We'll see. Here we go. I think these nubs might cause me a bit of grief. Trying to get right on that edge there. And of course, I'm gonna lose my panel lines. So I'm going to need to rescribe them, I think. Yep, those seam lines are pretty shallow, so they're just getting lost in the sanding, which is a bit of a shame. And there's a bit of a curve, compound curve in there, which makes it a little bit trickier just to get the sanding stick in there. I think we're getting there. Yeah, so you can see where the dust is sort of settled in the panel lines, but I'll rescribe those anyway. I must say it's not often I actually rescribe panel lines, so I'm certainly not particularly good at it. I can't say it's a particularly enjoyable thing to do. But given that most of the kits that I sort of use that I sort of build are probably more sci-fi related, yeah, don't have the need to rescribe panel lines. Alright, I think that's... Yeah, still a little bit of a mark there, but I don't know if there's much I can do about that. thing is, it is the underside of the plane, so it's unlikely to be seen. Yeah, so you can probably see there's a slight step there. So I'm just going to have to go in with a bit of coarser sandpaper. So what I'm doing is rocking the piece back and forth so I'm not getting a flat edge. And I guess one advantage with the red plastic is you can actually see where the dust settles, where the pieces have been joined. So that can help highlight whether there's any stepping or anything like that. Oh yeah, look at that, sanding stick's just going to fit in there. That's handy. Bit of work just in these little guys. Thankfully, I mean, I think probably these floats and certainly the fuselage, they're sort of the main things that have the seam lines that need to be cleaned up. So it's not like every part of the plane needs a huge amount of cleanup. Okay. It's not too bad. Let's get primer on it. We'll have a better idea. I might do the other one off camera, but what I do want to do is these wings. Now, the wing has come up beautiful as far as the actual edge goes, so I don't think there's going to be much sanding there. So what I need to concentrate on is where these nubs are. So I just want to go in very lightly with the coarse sanding stick. And I'm sanding on an angle because you want to maintain the profile of the wing. And just take it nice and slow. And I'm just keeping an eye, taking the sanding stick away every now and then, just to make sure that it is at this stage only the nub that I'm sanding. You can see I've started to sand a bit of the wing there, which is a bit of an issue. So we can pare a bit of that off with a knife. Yep, that's pretty good. I have lost those panel lines. You can see how shallow they are, and so I'm going to lose them around the edge where I've sanded, but that's alright, we can pick those up. Alright, so what I might do is I'll do the rest of the sanding of the wing and the other the other float, and then I'll come back. Okay, so I've finished the sanding on focus. Come on. Okay, so I've sanded the floats. I also had to do a filling of a tiny little hole just on the base of that strut there, so it seems that I need to go back in there again. There's a little bit sort of sunk in. But anyway, this is just the assembly of the engine, and so this should be pretty straightforward. Now everything is sanded. I've dry fitted everything just to make sure it fits, so it's just a matter of using some, to me, extra thin and yeah, putting the engine together, because most of it's going to be the same colour, so most of it's going to be red. I think it's just the intake and the exhaust that are going to be a different colour. So I'm literally just putting a dab in the gaps. Let the capillary action work. The other thing with this stuff is you don't need to go overboard with it. You literally just need the tiniest bit to actually go in the gaps. So you're better off sort of doing it in you know, small goes. You don't want to be flooding the whole thing with the glue all in one shot. Sort of do a little bit, let it flow into the gaps, and then do another bit. And the great thing about this stuff is that it actually welds the plastic, so it's not sort of a traditional glue where you have, you know, two pieces bound together by a chemical layer. It's it actually welds the plastic together, which makes it super strong. Okay, so now that's softened up a bit. When I press down on it, I'll get a reasonably smooth gap in there. Alright, I think that's as good as that's going to get. Okay, let's put this piece on next. I know you can't see it on camera, but when you're doing it yourself, you will see it'll be like a shiny bead travel down the line. And also when you give it a bit of pressure, you should see a little bit of the glue squeeze out and help fill the gap. Okay. Alright, and the final piece is the front here. Okay, so there's no real way of holding this in place. This is kind of interesting. So it does have like a little bit of a piece sticking out a little bit, but it's not enough to sort of hold it in place. But what I've noticed is that you've got the hole where the prop goes through. So what I might do is put that in place, and that should hold it together. Well, that's the plan anyway. So if we poke the prop through, oh no, it's not going to work because it's not going to go all the way through. Okay, there goes that idea. I thought that it might, but it doesn't. I wonder if I have something that's that width. Or maybe I just eyeball it. Live dangerously. So I mean, with this glue you do have a little bit of time to work with it, so it doesn't just sort of sit straight away. So let's get this lined up, and of course I'm not going to be able to clamp it. So let's see. Oop, too much glue. I kind of want to take it in place and make sure it's lined up centrally everywhere, which is proving to be a little bit problematic. I'll make sure it all lines up. Right. Actually line up particularly well on both sides at the same time. But I think it's going to be as good as it gets. So if you have a look down the sides here where the exhaust is supposed to poke out, this bit here, so I want to make sure that that's lined up properly. And of course I line it up on one side, it's not necessarily right on the other. But I think that's pretty good. So I've only glued on the top, and essentially what I'm doing is just tacking it in place to make sure that I get it lined up before I run glue sort of through the rest of it. So I think that should be pretty good now. I should say I'm not going to overly weather the engine. Given scale, I think any weathering would be extremely subtle and extremely small, so I'm probably going to keep it to an absolute minimum. And the other thing is, it's based on anime. It's I'd like to sort of maintain a bit of that flat colour sort of style, not sort of overly realistic. Alright, okay, so that's the engine. But I should also say that I sanded the wing as well, so that's come up pretty good. There's, these edges are really nice. Seals up really good. So the next step is really going to be around the painting side of things. So actually getting everything on clips and priming it. So for the red parts, I'm going to be priming it in Surfacer White, the SMS, and for all the other bits that are sort of metal and what have you, they'll be primed in black. I think the cockpit I'll probably just prime in black, and then I'll follow the colours in call-outs to paint up the cockpit. But I'm not too fussed about that, because by the time you get the figures in there, you're hardly going to see what's going on.